Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. Today I would like to talk to you about my collection of Superman enemies. What I have here is the Superman's enemies made by both DC Direct, also known as DC Collectibles, and by Mattel. So let us start with Doomsday right here, the enemy that killed Superman in a fight, and Superman killed him as well. So it was a simultaneous death of both characters. Now at the back here we have Despero, who is also a known enemy of Superman. He was depicted in an episode of the Justice League cartoon series. And over here we have Darkseid, the Lord of the Apocalypse, very dark and devastated planet that he rules with an iron fist. And he is very similar in nature to Marvel's Thanos, and quite as ruthless and as deadly. He was released by DC Direct as part of their line based on Jack Kirby art, so there was several characters released in that line, and Darkseid being one of them. He comes with his power gauntlet on his left hand. Then at the back here we have Ed McGuinness style Lex Luthor, who came from the Superman Batman Public Enemies line. Then we have Superboy Prime, who used to be a regular Superboy who simply went insane when his Earth exploded and vanished. And he's been seeking revenge ever since to those that he assumes were responsible for the destruction of his Earth. That primarily refers to Superman of our Earth. Then next to him we have Cyborg Superman, also a very known villain and enemy of Superman. And this version was released by Mattel as part of their DC Universe Classics line. Then another version of Cyborg Superman. In this version he has joined the Red Lanterns, and by doing so he was hunting down any lanterns and killing them in the fight and taking their rings. This figure was released by DC Direct several years ago, about 8 to 10 years ago. Now next to him is another Cyborg Superman, and this is the more of a classic look of his. This version of him was released by DC Direct, and it's part of their DC Essentials line. He is a taller figure than previous Cyborg Supermans, so he's about 6.57 inches tall, and he still looks pretty good if you ask me. Now next to him we have two versions of Brainiac, another very known enemy of Superman that made appearance in Superman animated series and even in the Justice League cartoon series as well. Now the first one, the taller one of the two and the bulkier one of the two, was actually based on the story of New Krypton. So there was one wave of figures based on that story that was released, and Brainiac was one of them. Now this particular Brainiac here is part of the DC Essentials line by DC Direct, and he looks just as good as the one next to him. Then we have the new 52 take on Bizarro. So his costume seems to be quite a bit modified, and his face is more like a Frankenstein monster, and the color scheme is somewhat different than usual. So it's an interesting take, nevertheless, on this iconic character. Now over here we have another Bizarro, except this one is based on Alex Ross art, and the winning feature on him, as far as I'm concerned, is the the way his face looks like, because the face, as you can tell right here, looks pretty scary, and he's more like he looks more like a zombie. And I think this is by far, of all the Bizarros that I have, this one has the best face in regards to his expression and so forth. So they really the art in the on which this figure is based on. So next to him, moving along, we have the Earth 2 Superman, who died, I believe, during the Infinite Crisis, and he was resurrected by Black Hand Villain during the Blackest Night storyline. I did not really read that story, so I just know little bits and pieces. And since he was resurrected, then he looks more like a zombie. And the only downside to this figure is that he cannot really be straightened up to look up straight. He kind of looks like he's looking down. But again, the thing that looks really good about him would be that face of his. You can see the rotted teeth and the jaw, and definitely a face of a zombie in there. And he's wearing a modified version of his costume. He has bony hands, all clawed-like. And then over here we have, I believe, this particular version of Superman would be Superboy Prime, when he became the part of the Black Lantern Corps. You guys can correct me about it if I'm wrong. It's just that I'm not familiar with the entire story and all the details. But this particular Superman, I do believe, is Superboy Prime, in sort of a more advanced stage of his life. And then in between here, we have the adopted son of Darkseid, who was released by the DC Direct, and he was also based on the Jack Kirby art. And again, the facial expression in all these figures, the early figures of DC Direct, are actually pretty well done. I really like his enraged look on his face that he's ready to tear Superman apart. So yeah, and then moving along, we have here Ultraman, an evil version of Superman from an alternate Earth. He's also the leader of the crime syndicate, the group of superheroes who most definitely resemble the Justice League, except being heroes, they're actually criminals, superpowered criminals. And this version of him was based on the New 52 storylines, and this is how he looks. And at the back over here, we have two parademons, the soldiers of Darkseid, and these guys are based on the New 52 concept. So they're much bulkier and more of a cyborg looking creatures. And then over here we have a larger figure that was released by DC Direct of Darkseid, based on the I believe the Return of the Supergirl, where the Supergirl lands on Earth, and she gets kidnapped by Darkseid, and then he brainwashes her and turns her against Superman. I just don't quite remember the exact title of that comic book, but anyway, it was a known story, and it's a massive looking figure, not the biggest one DC Direct made, but still quite a bulky one. And the big guy at the back of Darkseid would be Mongul, but a much bigger version than the Mattel one. So this particular one was released in the Green Lantern DC Direct lineup, and there are two versions of him. So this would be the first version that was released, and later on there was a repaint, who I believe was trying to represent the son of Mongul, and it was using the same exact sculpt as this one, except The paint was different, and there were some minor differences in between the two figures. So moving along over here, we have the DC Direct version of Bizarro based on the Superman Last Son storyline. Again, a very good figure. The only problem being is that it's more of as a statue with very limited articulation, but regardless of it, he still looks pretty menacing. Then we have a Mattel version, one of the oldest versions of their Bizarro a Bizarro figure, and he looks pretty good, all bulked up, and the sculpt is not bad, especially the face. And then next to him is another version of Bizarro, and this one was released as a part of the Death of Superman action figure lineup, even though he was never in the story about Death of Superman. But I like the fact that, again, they catch the facial expression very well, and he has that interesting looking necklace around his neck that says Bizarro #1. Then we have two versions of Lex Luthor from Mattel. One of them is Lex Luthor when he joined the Orange Lantern Corps. I believe it's orange, or maybe, sorry, yeah, it's an orange, I think, Lantern Corps. And the plastic is translucent, and I believe, at least from what I can tell when I'm holding him, he looks somewhat fragile, because this kind of plastic, the translucent one, is usually known to be rather fragile and that it could easily break. So I'm trying my best to just pose him and not to move him around a bit, move him around too much, because he might get damaged. And then this is the classic version of Lex Luthor, again by Mattel, but dating back to their pre-DC Universe Classics line that was mostly about Superman and Batman and their enemies. And he was also released in a 2-pack together with Supergirl, and I believe later on there was another release of him, of the same figure, in another 2-pack, but I can't remember who he was packed with. So next to him we have the Alex Ross style Lex Luthor, and the type of costume he's wearing more seems to reminisce of the similar to the Super Friends costume he wore in the Curtain series. And then over here we have another Doomsday, again by DC Direct, and this particular Doomsday came in a boxed set with Superman and a sort of a mini diorama showing their street level fighting that culminated in the death of both characters. At the back over there we have the Mattel's take on Mongul, and this figure was released once or twice in their lineup, and he this particular version came packed with Cyborg Superman that I already showed earlier, so it was a 2-pack. And then next to him we have Faora, I believe that's her name, one of the enemies of Superman based on the Man of Steel movie from 2014. And we have General Zod, again based on the Man of Steel movie. Both figures being released by Mattel. And then we have another version of Cyborg Superman when he joins the Red Lantern Corps, and this figure was released by Mattel. Then we have Lobo, the intergalactic bounty hunter. He's been torn in the side to Superman and usually challenging Superman. And I don't know really, because I did not follow comics in a very long time. I don't know if he's a hardcore enemy of Superman or just an occasional villain when he likes to pick a fight. But I do know that he made an appearance in the Superman animated series, which I did watch, and he also made an appearance in the Justice League cartoon series. At one point fighting Superman, at another point trying to join the Justice League and take place of Superman, who went missing in action and was presumed dead at that time. So yeah, he's quite an interesting character. He will go far and wide to get anyone he's hunting for. So This version was released by DC Direct, and it's not their only version of the character. There was one more that was released a couple of years before this one. And of course, you also have the Mattel stake on Lobo, which unfortunately I don't have that particular version, but this is the only one I have at this time. So next to him we have the Ed McGuinness Bizarro, Ed McGuinness style Bizarro. Again, a very nicely done figure. And most of the figures in this particular line, they're all using the same body mold with just some modifications. And then we have Mattel's take on the more of a classic look of Ultraman. And I believe this one came in a 2-pack with another character, but I don't quite recall who the other character was. I think it was Alexander Luthor, but I could be wrong about that. Then we have the Lava style Doomsday released by Mattel. Very nicely done figure, and I like the choice of the color. The only thing that seems a bit off is the fact that he's not as big as he should be. There is of course a version of Doomsday released by Mattel later on that shows him in a much bigger size and much bulkier looking. So, and then to top this all off, what we have here is a large size, I believe 10 to 12 inches tall roughly, New 52 take on Darkseid. And this figure, let me tell you, he is massive. Massive, and when you hold him, he's not a hollow rotocast figure like you would find in many stores and when it comes to other large figures out there. But this guy is massive and he's very heavy when you hold him. So, what can I say about him? He is very impressive in size, and the detail of his armor, and of course again with the facial expression. And the only thing that I could say that is a bit worrisome is that these enormous shoulder pads he has on him are known to be brittle, from what I've been reading from the other collectors who have him. So that's the only downside, that these big giant shoulder pads could actually easily break off if one is not being careful how you handle him. Now, of course, this is not the only large size version of Darkseid. There was one more that was released not that long after this one, and that other one was roughly close to the size of this one, but he came with an additional figure which would be a daughter of Darkseid, which I actually didn't even know that he has a daughter, due to the fact, as I said, that I don't really follow comics much. I just like the figures, and I can usually pick up figures that of the characters that I'm very familiar with. So yes, as you can tell when I zoom out over here, Darkseid, compared to the rest of the guys in front of him, he is pretty big, very big in size and very imposing, very nicely done. And that was one of the rare times when DC Direct would actually release some very large oversized figures. So let's I'll just give you one more glance at all these guys. I don't have every single enemy of Superman. I think I still miss some versions or variations of his enemies, but I managed to narrow it down at least to the most important ones that, in my opinion, look really good. And I can be very selective when I'm looking for characters. I just won't get caught on every single character, because some characters just don't look interesting to me. It's also about how that version looks like, or how that particular character looks like, and so forth. That influences me sometimes if that particular figure is good or not. So there you have it, folks. That's it for now as far as the enemies of Superman go. I would like to use this chance to thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Thanks and see you next time. Bye.